Hi everyone, welcome to Grow Your Groceries with Callie Kim. Now with food costs escalating everywhere and even in short supply, I'm going to teach you how to grow your own groceries from seed to harvest and save money on food in the process. Today, the first episode is on onions. Starting them from seed indoors, a staple vegetable in nearly every kitchen, but super easy and inexpensive to grow from seed in your own backyard. Why did I pick onions to start with first? Because onions, in order to grow them successfully, you have to start them early so that they have time to bulb up. Now you can start your onions about 12 to 16 weeks before your last frost date. To find out your last frost date, go over to almanac.com, pop in your zip code, it'll tell you the last frost date in your season, and then back up 12 to 16 weeks prior to that. Now here I have some beautiful green onions growing in my garden. We're gonna have them with dinner tonight. This is going to be you picking and growing your own groceries right in your own backyard. You are gonna love it. Now that you know your frost date, we're going to be starting onions from seed indoors, but we're actually planting them outside today because I thought you would enjoy the California green. There's actually two different ways you can grow onions, from seed or from sets, and I'll explain why those are important, and also why you need to know your onion zone to help you be successful at growing onions. Now you may have heard these two terms before, onion seeds versus onion sets. Now, onion sets are simply tiny onions that were grown the previous year and then stored in a dormant state and sold at garden centers the second year. Now, onions are what's called a biennial. In other words, they take 2 years to complete their life cycle. So when you purchase onion sets at the garden center, oftentimes they're second-year onions. Once you plant them in your garden, they'll go to seed. So you might think you're saving a little bit of time with onion sets, but actually seeds are the way to go. They're very inexpensive. You can plant tons of variety from seed. And then instead of going to seed that first year, you're going to get some nice onion bulbs. Now I know that was a mouthful, so go back and replay that section if you need to. Now, because I want you to be successful, there's a few things you need to know about onions. First off, they're a cool weather vegetable. They like temperatures between 60 and 75 degrees. That's what's optimal for them, for the leaf development and for them to bulb up. However, once the bulbing up starts, they can definitely withstand higher temperatures. So again, get them started early before the heat sets in, so you'll be good to go. Now, onions are photoperiodic, which means they're sensitive to the light they receive. Once the days get 12 hours or longer, the leafing slows down and the bulbing up starts. So it's super important that you know your onion zone. Now let me show you what I mean by that. Imagine a line splitting the United States in half from east to west. If you live north of that line, you should grow long day onions that bulb out with 14 hours or plus of daylight. If you live south of that line, the onions that will do best are short day onions that will bulb out with 10 hours plus of daylight. Now, if you're kind of right along the line here, you can grow day neutral or intermediate onions, which widely adapt for both northern areas and southern areas, and those bulb out with about 12 to 13 hours of daylight. It's kind of a free-for-all for the midsection US. For best results, you want to grow the onion varieties that are well suited to your area. You can grow a long day in the south and a short day in the north, but they will be smaller bulbs. And usually the type of onions that they are, long day, short day, or intermediate, are noted on the package of onion seeds. Now with all the onion info out of the way, now it's time to get our hands dirty. This is the fun part that I love. So to grow onions from seed, you basically need 3 things. You're gonna need some onion seeds, some containers to grow your seeds in, and some seed starting mix. So I'm going to start off by showing you how to make a really easy seed starting mix that's going to save you a ton of money. Now you can buy a bag seed starting mix or potting mix at the garden center, but it does tend to be pretty costly. Super easy to make your own, and you're going to save a lot of money that way too. Now I have a whole video on how to make a DIY seed starting mix, super easy. I'll put a link to that video so you can go back and watch it for all the details. We are going to go through it kind of quickly today. But you just need 3 things. First off, Coco Coir is going to supply the base to our mix. It's going to make it nice and fluffy. We're going to rehydrate this brick in just a moment. Then you need vermiculite, which helps retain moisture in your soil. And then for some nutrients, you're going to need some worm castings, which are a great soil additive. First, I'm going to rehydrate this compressed brick of Coco Coir. I'm pouring some warm water over it. It's kind of cool to see it expand. I'll put links to all the supplies I'm using in the video description. I'm going to let this sit for a few minutes in the water to expand. In the meantime, you need to help break up the coco coir brick as it rehydrates so it's nice and light and fluffy. Add a little bit more water if you need to. Make sure it's all fully hydrated. Mix it in so there's no dry spots. When you see that your coco coir is all hydrated, it's all a nice dark brown color, there's no lighter brown spots in here, you are good to go. Next ingredient, vermiculite, which helps with the moisture retention of the seed starting mix. So we're going to add 1 part vermiculite to our 3 parts coco coir. Now a part is just a unit of measure. You can use a cup, you can use a sour cream scoop. Here we've got about 3 parts of our bin filled with coco coir, and we're just going to kind of eyeball it here. Add about 1 part vermiculite to our 3 parts coco coir. And the third ingredient is worm castings. Now I'm using Vermistera worm castings, and I'll put a link to where I get all of my ingredients in the video description. And again, we're adding about 1 part worm castings. So we've got 3 parts coco coir, 1 part vermiculite, and 1 part worm castings, which are going to add the nutrients so to our seed starting mix so our onions grow really well. So we're just going to get in here, mix this all up. And we are going to be using this seed starting mix throughout the Grow Your Groceries series. So you can make yourself a nice little bin. There's no expiration date on it, and you can put a lid on it. I would let it dry out a little bit before you put a lid on it and store it somewhere inside your house. So you're all prepared for all the delicious vegetables we're going to start and grow from seed in this series. And you want your seed starting mix about the moisture of crumbly brownie mix. So this is looking really good. You want it to hold together just a little bit when you squeeze it with your hand there. If there's too much moisture, you can add a little bit more coco coir to soak the moisture up. Next, you're going to need some containers. Now look around your house, see what you have that you can repurpose. This is a meat tray, we've got a soup container here, and what I like to plant in are these 6-packs, which you can actually grab over on Amazon. Whatever you use, you need to have holes in the bottom for drainage. So just poke a hole with a drill or with a nail into the bottom of whatever container you use. So what I'm going to do now is fill my 6-pack seed cell with my seed starting mix. Just going to pop it in there. You can see how nice and light and fluffy this mix is. Nice and fine, so that you have no problems germinating the seeds. If your mix is a little bit too heavy, you might have problems with seed germination. So now that I've got my 6-pack seed cell filled up, I'm going to kind of pack the mix in there with my thumbs. It's called thumb packing. You don't want any big air pockets. And then you might have to add a little bit more mix to your cell. That way there's no air pockets and your seeds have good contact with the soil. Yay, we're finally getting to the onion seed part. Next, you're going to need some onion seeds. And we're going to plant seeds today from my onion seed collection. 5 varieties in here, 1 short day, 1 long day, 2 intermediate, and 1 bunching onion. Now I started my onions from seed actually about 3 weeks ago. They're looking really good. And I love how they look here. You can see the teeny tiny little onion seed still attached to the top of some of the seedlings. So it's really fun to watch them grow from seed. So today, to show you how to plant from seed, I'm going to plant a couple of my favorite varieties, some bunching onions, which you can grow anywhere, no matter where you live. They're like little green onions, like the ones I picked earlier in the video. And then another one of my favorites, the Tropea long, which is a longer, elongated type of onion, and it's a really beautiful red color. So let's start with the Tropea long. Super easy to plant from seed in the 6-packs. Just pour a little handful of seeds into your hand here. And then what I'm going to do is drop about 4 seeds in each little seed cell here. And you can actually plant onions fairly close together when you're starting from seed, so don't worry about it if you drop a few extra in there. They separate very, very easily once you go to plant them out in the garden. And if you don't have a frost date in your area, like we don't here in Southern California, you can start your onion seeds now. You don't have to wait until 12 to 20 weeks before your last frost date, because it definitely does not apply to us here. So I've got my Tropea onions planted. Now I'm going to plant my Tokyo bunching onions. And bunching onions are one of the quickest onions to grow, one of the easiest to grow. They actually like to grow in bunches, so I just sprinkle them into the seed cells. And again, it doesn't matter if you plant these fairly closely together because they're super easy to separate once they're big enough to plant out in the garden. Now you all know what's next. Don't forget to label your onions. Got the tropeas, the bunching onions. Now I'm going to sprinkle just a small little handful of seed starting mix over the top to cover them up. That way they have good contact with the soil while they're germinating. Don't need to cover them too heavily. And then just kind of tamp them down. And you do want to keep the top of your seed starting mix here nice and moist while they're germinating. So I like to keep a little spray bottle on hand, just kind of mist them lightly each day. So they have all the moisture they need. One more thing left, so hang in there, and that is grow lights. So now what you want to do is take your little seedling trays and bring them inside. Put your onions under grow lights for about 10 to 12 hours a day. Now, I know what you're thinking. You don't have grow lights set up yet, right? I'll put a link for my video on 3 easy grow light setups so you know exactly what to do. It's quick, simple, inexpensive, no matter how much space or what your budget is. So your onions will go under grow lights 10 to 12 hours a day. Any more than that will result in bulbs forming way too early. Then you'll get your onions planted outside in the garden around the time of your last frost date. And you want to subscribe and stay tuned because we'll definitely be doing what I want you to do now is to get your onion seeds planted. Head over to CallieKimGardenandHome.com, grab an onion seed collection. Everything you need is in there, 5 varieties, and also in the Grow Your Groceries series. I'm going to be teaching you how to grow seeds from the Spring Garden Seed Collection, 15 varieties in here. You're going to want to grab both, and right now everything site-wide over on my website is 20% off with the code GROWYOURGROCERIES, and that sale runs until Monday, January 16th, 2023, and you get a free seed packet with every order. And for those of you that prefer to have it written down, everything you need to know is an organic gardening for everyone. You can grab that with your 20% off discount as well. I want to commend you for taking this first step. Some of you, it's your very first time growing your own groceries. So comment below, let me know if you've planted your onions, and if you'll be growing your groceries with me in 2023. I can't wait to read your comments. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next video.